Let's start by this. These rumors were made by radical black racists. Let's just say that. Okay, it's a group of these guys that don't want to hear Jamaican, don't want to hear Guyanese, they don't want to hear a black guy that ain't down with them. Right? So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say it there? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean,
the FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever. I'm just keeping it a buck. And their shit is to attack everybody on Twitter. You see this nigga who run them? Like, you know, your leader? Oh, man, you got to be kidding me, man. And so they trying to change the narrative. They're not from New York.
Right.
So they telling them.
Well, as you can see, Fat Joe could be in serious trouble. You know, we know that Fat Joe came out last year disrespecting the FBA, saying all kinds of stuff, putting all kinds of false accusations on black Americans, talking about stuff that he didn't know what he was talking about. You remember he came and said that hip-hop was created by blacks and Puerto Ricans 50-50, and when black Americans answered them back, he took it as a form of disrespect, or we was disrespecting non-FBA groups, and we're not. And I keep telling you guys, when you understand what a tether is nothing but maybe like a black American coon or a Sambo, something that we would call somebody that's like a sellout, that sells out their own community, their own group to get trinkets from the other side. That's all it is. So everybody that's from the Caribbean is not a tether. There's a lot of riders. There's a lot of people that's 10 toes down that understand what black people go through, and they black first. So that's not what we're saying. Everybody that's black from the Caribbean or Africa is not a tether. There's a lot of riders, right? But he was disrespecting us, but now he's come under fire. And a lot of people are really voicing their opinions about this. Tariq, Nasheed, there's a lot of people, right? Everybody's coming out. Me, everybody. But let's really get into the situation, because he had his guy T.A. Dixon come out and say that he did a whole bunch of horrific acts in the 16 years that he was around. And he was messing with young girls. He wasn't paying people. They was committing acts of violence on people all throughout the Bronx. It was just a whole bunch of stuff. If you didn't go along with the way he was doing things, he would leave you in other countries. It was like this guy was just looked at as a horrible guy. So when he made these comments, Fat Joe sued him for defamation of character. So let's get off into this, right? As we previously reported, Fat Joe's former hype man, Terrence T.A. Dixon, originally made these claims publicly on social media earlier this year. That resulted in Fat Joe suing him for defamation in late April. Joe's lawsuit stated that Dixon claims were a criminal conspiracy for cash. Well, instead of dropping those claims, Dixon decided to up the stakes, filing a new bombshell lawsuit on Thursday. According to Variety, this new lawsuit says Fat Joe took part in coercive labor exploitation, financial fraud, several manipulation, actual manipulation, violent intimidation, and psychological coercion, with claims that Roc Nation helped cover it all up. Most shockingly, it details alleged actual relations with minors. Dixon says he personally witnessed Fat Joe engage in several relations with children who were 15 and 16 years old. The suit mentions 3 Jane Does and alleges Joe would do things like pay phone bills, give cash or clothes in exchange for, from teenagers, from a teenage Dominican girl. It also accuses him of sleeping with a 15-year-old from overseas and flying her to the States multiple times. It alleges that at some point Joe paid the girl's BBL because her body wasn't fully formed. Dixon says Joe was in love with Jane Doe 3 and allegedly wanted to leave his wife for her. Man, this thing gets crazy, man. This thing gets crazy, right? He wanted to leave. He was thinking about leaving his wife for her, paying all her bills, flying her to tour stops, and putting her in a condo near his home. Dixon and his lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, allegedly have recorded phone calls with Jane Doe, so he basically coming at him, right? So Fat Joe and his people, they got wind of this, right? And they and they responded. The lawsuit filed by Tyrone Blackburn and Tariq Dixon is a blatant act of retaliation, a desperate attempt to deflect attention from the civil suit we filed first, which exposed their coordinated scheme to extort Mr. Cartagena through lies, threats, and manufactured allegations. We didn't just sue a disgruntled former employee trying to revive a false claim from 15 years ago. We sued the lawyer behind it all. Tyrone Blackburn has a well-documented pattern of abusing the courts to harass defendants and generate media attention. Two separate federal judges have condemned this conduct, one for filing headline-chasing lawsuits full of salacious and baseless claims, and another for making repeated legal misstatements and personal attacks in court filings. He is now the subject of a pending referral to the Southern District's Disciplinary Committee. Law enforcement is aware of the extortionate demand at the heart of this scheme. These allegations against Mr. Cartagena are complete fabrications, lies intended to damage his reputation and force a settlement through public pressure. Mr. Cartagena would not be intimidated. We have a legal team. We have a legal team to expose this fraudulent campaign and hold everyone involved accountable. Well, Fat Joe is coming out and he's not going down swinging. But again, there's a lot of people speaking on this. And one of the people that's really speaking on this and calling him out is Tariq Nasheed. Because him and Tariq Nasheed went back and forth last year when we were going back and forth about who created hip hop. So Tariq Nasheed, he took to social media and he said this.
But Fat Joe, he's accused by his former hype man, as a dude who used to go on tour with him. The former hype man accused Fat Joe of engaging in sex acts with minors in a $20 million lawsuit. Page 6 reports that Fat Joe was accused of engaging in sex acts with minors in this $20 million lawsuit filed by ex-hype man Terrence T.A. Dixon. Dixon alleged that he personally witnessed Fat Joe engaged in sexual relations with children who were 15 and 16 years old, according to court documents obtained by Page 6. Dixon claimed that the hitmaker, who vehemently denied the allegations, was involved with a 16-year-old Dominican female who would allegedly perform sex and other sexual acts on Fat Joe in exchange for cash, clothing, payments of her cell phone bill. He also listed a Caucasian girl who's not from the US that Fat Joe allegedly started having sexual relationships with following a concert overseas when she was 15, according to the lawsuit. He also said that he flew the girl to New York and Miami on numerous occasions. He also alleged that Fat Joe paid for the minor to undergo a BBL since her body wasn't fully developed as a woman. Damn. Alleged. This is all accusations. According to the girl, eventually she left the defendant and he's now married. Well, she's married to a professional athlete. The girl is married to a professional athlete now. Lastly, Dixon listed a Latina, allegedly, who Fat Joe met when she was 15 and he was in his late 30s, per the filing. Fat Joe was in love with the girl and allegedly considered leaving his wife for the girl. Um, the lawsuit says Fat Joe would pay the girl's bills and take her overseas. He put her in a condo. Wow, this is a lot. So this guy Dixon, who worked with Fat Joe from 2006 to 2019, accused the rapper in the lawsuit of coercive labor exploitation, financial fraud, sexual manipulation, violent intimidation, and psychological coercion. Oh, man, Dixon, he's also suing Pistol Pete Torres, Richard Rich Player, somebody, and Erica Morena, Sneaker Addict Touring LLC, Slate Inc., and Rock Nation LLC, among others. Mm, very interesting. Interesting. And Fat Joe's attorney has denied the allegations, and according to Page 6, um, Dixon's lawyer improperly files cases in federal court to garner media attention. Okay. All right. So this is what's being said. All right. This is what's being said. These allegations, and we don't know what's true. These are just allegations. I'll be fair. I will be fair. These are just allegations. But boy, that's not a good look. And that's his hype man. This is a guy who is right there on stage with Fat Joe. This is his guy. This is somebody who spent considerable time with Fat Joe. What, damn near 20 years, what? Over 20 years? Or was it? Nah, not quite. Not quite. But a long time. Over a decade. Over a decade. Not 20 years, but over a decade. Well, listen. Remember Fat Joe? He was publicly dissing our lineage. He was dissing foundational Black Americans. Family, when I told y'all the other day that there's a spiritual awakening now, there's a spiritual reckoning. People who have disrespected us and our lineage, that spiritual pendulum is swinging back. The ancestors are calling. I've been talking about this, so I'm not really shocked by this. The ancestors are really getting some comeuppance. The ancestors are getting their lick back with all of this stuff going on. People disrespecting us. That's not going to fly. Like I said, the white supremacists, they're already getting the business genetically. Yeah, the ancestors are really handling that ass in a major way. Them birth rates, you understand? But all of these other people who really know better, who chose to side with white supremacists against us, chose to denigrate our lineage, chose to disrespect our lineage, chose to exploit our lineage. There is an ancestral reckoning for that, a spiritual reckoning. When we see these people who we helped get over here, and we sat up here and talked about a black brown coalition, and when they get here, they start treating us worse than the damn white us. Now we see what's happening to them. And all we had to do is just kind of sit back.
So I would say where there's smoke, there's fire, right? You know, I believe that with this, there's going to be other people coming out against Fat Joe. The floodgates is open now, and this is the time where if something did happen, people can come out now and say certain things. Some people chose their careers over their integrity, and they chose to give up their body rather than keep their integrity and maybe not have the career that they wanted in the rap game or Hollywood. We know that a lot of these executives were snakes and dogs, and they was doing people wrong. We already know that, right? We already know that. But this thing, man, this thing is starting to grow legs. And we'll see how many other accusers come out. We'll see if anybody else come out and accuse Mr. Cartagena. But we know what he did to Liza, Big Pun's wife, right? And how he settled with them because he took millions of dollars from them. We know that he's a known liar because he always comes out and fabricates the truth when he's telling these stories. So this guy was next to Fat Joe for 16 years, man, and he's exposing stuff. We want to see how this thing play out. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.